to me, you know. Did a number of things, apart from getting this country back. But before he did that, he introduced us to vegetarians. He introduced us to bullymen in the bush. There's some stories, you know, bullymen in the bush. There's teddy bears or koalas in the streets. And obviously helped us organise our old people, you know, and I'll tell you about that. The koalas, of course, is obviously, you know, we saw these strange people in the corner of Hyde's Hotel in Cairns, you know, in the bloody hot sun, wondering who they are, who they represent, and what the fuck are they doing in the hot sun, you know. And of course, we then owned them. Our elders owned them. So that was great. Up here at Munborough, when, you know, Goss sent Ross Rolfe up with the chopper to meet us, remember that meeting? We were setting up camp and I had all the elders and the jackos and Sedi and them. And we saw all of the cooks, there's big pots like that. And we were all waiting for a feed. Old fella Dan, Charlie. Oh, they're cooking minnow up there, and of course, when we went up to line up, there was no meat. The old people came back with their spuds and their lentils and so on and said, in language, what sort of food is this? And of course, Terry and the boys took off in the bush and knocked the first available bloody cow and cut it about 11 o'clock. We were eating fresh steak. Anyway, we educated them that, look, we are meat eaters and we'll take the spuds but not the lentils. And the story about the woman, we were sitting there, old fella Dan and PC around the camp. And I don't know, someone had mentioned, yeah, Sargent's coming over. And one of the old fellas said, "Talk of bullyman, right? Meaning, we thought the white police were coming, you know? Sorry, that's Greg Sargent, that's his name."
Good Sargent.
And of course, when, you know, we had the decision, and at the last hour, you know, environment was trying to stuff us around on Munborough. Remember that big public meeting we had at the hall in Brisbane? So the next day, one of the things when working with Greg, we'd kind of taught him that when you take our Uncle Terry and them after a big night out, especially in Brisbane, and they have had a few under their belt, and you're negotiating the last sensitive deal. We taught him how to toe crunch. And so the strategy, Noel sent myself, Greg, and Uncle Jimmy, and Terry, Emma's Craven and Ross Rolfe. And we were to actually do the final deal on Munborough. And of course we were waiting outside the reception, and Uncle Terry's there. 9 o'clock in the morning. They've been in the wine bar till about 5 or something. And of course Greg's walking in this little pack, you know, walking around in front of the reception. We're all on edge. And of course we decided that, you know, the fiery one would be Uncle Gombra. We put him in the middle between us. And of course what is happening there is they stayed quiet for half the discussion. And then old Gombra couldn't help it. He started firing away. And of course we were trying to squash his toe. Not too much, let it go now, but he wouldn't shut up. And what was happening, well, I had old fella Tony Flinders on the other side of Greg. And old Tony was like that, and Tony was squashing Greg's toe. He was anxious too. Oh, it was good. But the first meeting, of course, with Greg was with Michael and this old young fellow with dreadlocks. They come to my place. We'd just come back from Cape Melville. And Michael and Greg and Timmy Jaffa came down. And we sat under my place then. I got to tell you, it was the first meeting of, you know, these greenies, you know. And, you know, from that point on, there was a relationship, really. That's Greg, you might say, is a tough bastard, you know. But on the bummer side, we never seen that. He actually, you know, Terry and old Tony, they hooked on him straight away. You know, they loved him, you know. But I could see the kind of evil in his eye. and I said to the old fellas after Mike and them took over, I said, "No problems, we're in." You know, the first campaign's in the bloody mall, remember that? We'll be down there. I'll get the old fellas together. As soon as they went and Jaffa went out, you know, they went out. I had two old people staying with me, old fella Dan Charlie and old grandfather Monaghan. And I had an office in my photocopy file. So I had to teach the two old fellas, because we said to Tim and Mike, you can use my office, you can send your information, I'll let you in on a bit of some secrets now. So I had to teach the old fellas what to do with the facts, you know. When Greg sends the strategy document up to Tim, you guys photocopy it and put one in the file for me. But give him the original. You know, so Tim would come up faithfully every day, have a cup of tea with the old fellas, take his documents away, and when I'd come back from Canberra, I'd actually go to the file and they'll happily bring the file out and say, here boy, read this, what's in there? What are they up to? But the thing there is that the reality is, Greg brought organisation around the old fellas, you know, and I tell you, without that organisation around the old fellas, as you well know, you know, we wouldn't have had the elders with us, you know, on this fight, and that's what I remember about this guy.